Please help me welcome our next project by the name of OKO. And this project is based in Mali. But presenting this, we have today Simon Schwal. Simon Schwal, please join me up on stage. Let's give him a big round of applause. Whenever you begin, the timer will start. Okay, so you can go ahead.
Hi everyone, I'm Simon, and I'm introducing you today to OKO, an insurtech solution bringing crop insurance to emerging markets. Let's start with a show of hands. Who among you has had to sell important assets because they were in financial distress? Not many of you, right? So that's because we benefit from security. We have insurance, we have social security. Now let me introduce you to Aminata. Aminata is a farmer in Mali. She's growing peanut groundnuts. On a good year, she can increase her income level. She can invest in better seeds. She can invest in fertilizers because she gets revenue out of her crop. But what happens when a drought happens? Well, if she's lucky enough, she has assets that she can sell, but otherwise she will have to use her saving or borrow money, or even send her kids to work to bring money to the table. What OKO wants to bring is an alternative. A solution where Aminata receives financial support in times of needs so that she can grow progressively out of poverty. So there is this need. Now, why don't the large companies, the large insurance companies, create solutions for that? Well, there are two main issues. One is admin cost, and the second is distribution. What does that mean? Traditional insurance have to send an expert on site to evaluate the damage on the crop. This costs a lot of money and doesn't make it profitable to address smallholder farmers. Distribution, well, Aminata lives in a remote area. She has no bank account, so it's very difficult for her to access insurance. Aminata is not alone. There are 2 billion farmers in the world who depend on rainfall for their culture. Less than 3% of them are insured. So, what's the solution? In the past 10 years, there has been a lot of development in technologies. There are solutions now to remotely monitor the weather with very high precision anywhere in the world. That's using satellite imagery or radio waves. Second, there's mobile payment. We talked about it in the past few days. There are solutions like M-Pesa that are becoming ubiquitous all over Africa, all over Southeast Asia and Latin America. Coupled with big data analysis and fintech, it makes it possible to automatize premium collection, automatize quotes, automatize claim assessment, and distribution. So it all starts with a low-cost premium. This is the idea is index-based insurance. So we start with a product that anyone can afford, that Aminata can afford. Well, as soon as Aminata is registered, we will check remotely what's the weather in her location. If it rains, great. She has her produce, she can sell, she can get revenues. But if not, if there's a drought or a flood, OKO will intervene and bring her financial support. The business model is straightforward. OKO will keep a share out of the end user price, the rest going to the insurance company and the telecom operator that is partnering with us. It is a very sustainable and scalable model. It doesn't require much infrastructure, and in 4 years, we believe we can reach a P&L of $5 million. Now, the go-to-market strategy. That's a real challenge to reach people like Aminata. Mobile operators have a reach that is second to none. There are solutions like mobile money available in 2/3 of the low and middle-income countries, 500 million accounts globally. So we'll use partnerships with mobile operators to reach remote-located smallholder farmers. The second partnership that is very important is microfinance institutions. I went and spoke to farmers in Senegal. They told me, okay, now that you explained to us, we understand what is insurance and how we can benefit from it. But we did without for the last 100 years, right? So why would we use it now? What we really need is access to credit. We need to be able to invest in a pump, in fertilizers to increase our production. So I went back to microfinance institutions. They told me, yeah, we would be really happy to increase our customer base, to offer service to all these farmers. But the risk is too high. If they had an insurance product, then we would be happy to serve them. So this is a very important element of the value proposition. Go-to-market is also about the tools that farmers will use. So we developed an application that uses zero data, that use SMS for communication, and we'll also have the same user experience kind of in USSD and SMS technologies that are available on feature phones. There are other companies working on this issue, but OKO is the only one that provides an end-to-end solution, starting with the insurance index insurance product, connected with mobile payments, but also distribution tools that are adapted to the target population, a policy management platform, and added value services like this access to microfinance. As I said, it's a very scalable solution. We believe that in 4 years we can reach 1.4 million farms. Each farms bring revenues for a whole family of, let's say, 6 people in average. So that's 8 million people, more than 8 million people that can be helped in 4 years. What's the impact of each of them? Well, the first one is that the farmers will be able to move from a subsistence crop like millet to a cash crop like cotton, for example. This brings more revenues. It's a bit more risky, but since they are covered, they can do this and make this step. Second one is access to microfinance and being able to invest in production tools that will gradually move them out of the poverty line. The team is made of complementary skills with a shared passion for development. There's myself. I worked for more than 3 years in a microinsurance startup. I built the most successful life and health insurance product in Papua New Guinea and in Fiji. There's Rodrigo that is here at the back of the room. Rodrigo is currently finishing his studies at Harvard University, but he already worked in index insurance pilots in Bolivia. And there's Rajesh, who is our CTO from MIT. He's from India, and he has previous entrepreneurial experience in agri-tech. Now, what's the next steps? We are working on pilots, and we really need partnerships and some funds to bring them to the market and bring the solution that these people that really need it. Thank you very much.
All right, so judges, you now have 6 minutes. Go ahead, Catherine.
Great presentation. This is actually an area of great interest to me, so I'd be happy to speak to you afterwards, both in terms of land use, and I was there for the first microfinance bank in Namibia and microinsurance, so I would love to talk to you afterwards. I just want 2 points of clarification, I think, just generally, is will the insurance then actually be trigger forward payment options? Are they actually linked in terms of loans and forward payment options? And 2, if you could clarify where the weather data, which indexes you'll be using.
So if I understand your question correctly, the first one is the payment, is it linked to the weather information? Or?
No, in terms of investments, forward payment options and forward loans based on the insurance rates, etc., will they be combined so that they can do those investments that you were talking about?
Yes. So the idea is to make kind of a club. So if you're a member of this OKO club, you can access this exclusive microfinance products with partnering microfinance institutions. So you can have the products together or you can have them separately. Second question on collection of premiums, right? On weather information. So the weather information will come from 2 technologies. One is satellite with image recognition and analysis. So there are technology providers that can provide very precise information based on algorithm analyzing the satellite imagery. Second one is a very new technology that is transforming basically the whole mobile network into a network of weather stations. It's analyzing the quality of the network of a mobile operator, and from that it can identify exactly how much rain fell between 2 mobile base towers.
You mentioned that you are bringing the microfinance as part of the exercise, and farmers are very conservative people. And you also mentioned that they will move from one crop to another, which might be tremendous challenge. So have you done any thought regarding partnering with those who provide extension services for the farmers? Because I see that kind of status quo, I ensure you continue doing and you have potential of that, because I think that's one of the key missing points, not just in your presentation, but everybody talk about microfinance. Nobody really asks the fundamental question, how these guys can come with a business plan which will have 20-30% return.
Okay.
No way. So,
very good question.
Sorry for being tough, but I think that it's not bad to have some kind of reality check. And also, I mean, the three of you, very impressive background. What is your connection with Mali? I mean, to what extent you have the local people being part of that? It's nice to go and convince them, but you need some push from there and related to that. What is your relationship with the local governments? I mean, okay. Agriculture is key for Africa.
All right, thank you very much. I'll go through the specific questions. First one on the reality check and how the farmers can use this. So first stage is to have this insurance and microfinance combined together. But then because we will know where they are, what crops they are growing and how is the weather there, we can give them weather alerts, we can give them advice on precision farming to tell them when is the best time to harvest, when is the best time to plant. So that will be additional services that we will be developing and that will bring additional touch points. And also if the insurance is not used, it will give another reason to subscribe again to OKO. Second question on the team. So I've been working in developing markets for the past 5 years. I have good connections in Mali. That's how I ended up working on a pilot there. Rodrigo is from Bolivia. He's been working with the Inter-American Development Bank, and he has worked on pilots in Bolivia. And Rajesh is from India, and crop insurance is a very big topic at the moment in India. So they also have a relevant experience. Finally, on the countries. So the regulators locally, they are very interested in bringing financial inclusion. So, for example, in West Africa, there's one regulator for the whole region called CIMA, and we're in touch with them to obtain a broker license specifically for microinsurance. So we are in touch with the government, with the programs that they have for farmers, and with the regulators.
Question, comments. Your ultimate plan, are you going to be an insurance company? Are you going to be a technology company? If you were an insurance company, you wanted to diversify your exposure rather than in one country, because a big rain will wipe out your balance sheet, yeah? But when you combine Mali with Papua New Guinea, which will reduce the concentration risk. If you were a technology company, I'd like to understand more on the artificial intelligence angle in detecting patterns in a preventative measure rather than just getting the insurance paid. Thank you.
So we'll be a broker. So we won't have an insurance license because it's lengthy and it's time and money consuming. So we'll start as being a broker. In some countries, there are possibilities to have a microinsurance license, which we will explore. But to start with, we'll be a broker and a technology provider. On the artificial intelligence side, we'll be working with technology suppliers, so companies who are doing the analysis of the satellite imagery, for example, or this weather, this rainfall monitoring, and we'll add value to this information by linking the weather information with the actual result on the ground, and local experts to understand if one specific pattern is observed, what does it mean on the ground in terms of production.
And Arthur?
Yeah, two questions unrelated, but one is, how do you get past the reluctance to buy insurance? I look at Houston, 83% of the people had no flood insurance, which looked like a really good deal the last 13 years till a hurricane came through this year, right? And everyone lost their homes. And second, how do you prevent people from gaming the system? I'm probably going to buy insurance on a very thirsty crop like cotton and then plant yams. So the rainfall doesn't come in, you pay me, but I also harvest the yams and sell them. So how do you deal with that kind of, who validates that? Yeah.
So on the first question, that's a very relevant point. People like Aminata, she doesn't know what is insurance. She has to be explained. So we'll have an own sales force of OKO agents who will go from cooperatives to cooperatives, from farms to farms, to explain to people how it works, and also a call center to answer the questions and introduce them to the concept of insurance gradually. The product will also be very simple to understand, with very simple terms, so that people don't get afraid when they see the terms and conditions, for example.
You all set? Okay, sorry.
Second question.
Oh, okay. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
On the second question on trying to optimize on insurance, well, there's very little that the farmers can do if it's linked to the weather information. So it's actually more difficult to trick the insurance than with the traditional systems. There are also always cases of fraud, but we don't believe it will be a major risk because, again, it's very tightly linked with the weather conditions, and farmers cannot really influence the weather conditions.
All right, thank you very much. Let's give it up for him. Nice job, Simon. Stay on stage for a moment. All right, so while the judges wrap up their notes, let's share some insights with the audience. I'd like you to go back to the beginning. Now, I'm noticing your bio, you've started a few companies before this, or you've worked with a few startups, and now this was your attempt at, I have my own idea, and I really want to launch this. Go back to the beginning, and as you're facing, of course, the challenges of getting started. Yeah. What were perhaps one of the challenges that stands out to you at the very beginning, and how you overcame that? Many people here are starting their own ideas.
Yeah. So I arrived in Papua New Guinea, first time there, and I was given the mission to start this company. And I talked to people who lived there, obviously, and the expat communities and the Papua New Guineans. And what struck me is that the people who have been there a long time, but are expatriates, were telling me it's never going to work. People don't think about the future. They don't think about what's going to happen after they're dead. So this is never going to work. And I talked to the Papua New Guineans, and they say, "Oh, that's a brilliant idea. That's great. We want this." So sometimes speaking to experts is actually it's relevant, but you have to confront it to the reality and to your end customers. So that was really a challenge for me, because I was like, okay, I just arrived in Papua New Guinea now, and I have this project that is never going to work. But keep going, try it, expose it to customers, and that's how you get the best feedback.
So it sounds like the validation, you really have to go to the person that is affected by this rather than someone studying it. While that could be valuable as well, don't be discouraged if you didn't hear exactly. Validate that. Yes. It sounds like you need to validate this.
Exactly. Even if it's if your product is not completely ready, just go with a template, with a first version of what it would look like, and see what is the reaction of people. Are they really willing to put money to get it, or just say, "Oh, I'm interested, but I don't know." So really test your product, your idea with your target audience.
Let's leave the audience with one last thing. What's one habit or practice that you engage in on a regular basis that helps you continue growing and developing?
Tough question. I would say to-do list, task list. So make sure that at the end of the day you've done some of the actions you gave to yourself. There are a lot of distractions, a lot of people who will ask for presentations, give you recommendations, a lot of things that you can do, but try to focus on what the goals you gave to yourself, to make sure that your project is going forward and that you're not stuck in a limbo where you are always questioning yourself again and again.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that great insight. Great job, Simon. Congratulations. Let's give it up for him one more time.